Oh, good, good.
So I
Hello.
guess the first order of business, because Mark isn't here, Mark Lamb,
Uh,
and we don't have a vice chair. But I think we should vote for a temporary chair for the meeting.
You
Any,
can't you can't handle it, Stephanie, as staff. You have to have somebody
I'm
else do it.
I'm actually a member, a voting member. I can handle it. Yeah.
You can handle it.
Is that the,
I would think that Stephanie ought to be the vice chair for the chair for this meeting. I'll make that nomination.
I second that.
all in favor? Oh, Mark already has his hand raised. All right, there you go. All right. Um, So the first order of business is the minutes. I know we just got those out to you. I had looked at them the other day and forgot to let Melissa know so she could send them out. Um, did folks get a chance to look at them?
It looked good to me. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as mailed.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, Danielson, Boyer,
Holbrook.
Holbrook, Barger,
Yep.
and Sterling. Okay, great. All right. The Doing Business in Easton guide. I've had Melissa working on this for the past several months. It's one of the things we've been talking about for a while, just to try to help residents as well as small businesses who are trying to do business in Easton. And let me pull it up. I should have had this up already.
Do you want me to share my screen, Stephanie? I can pull it up.
Could you do that? Yeah, that would be great. And you want to walk through it?
Sure. Let me see. I'm never the one that shares my screen. Hold on.
So for everyone, that's Melissa in the corner. I don't know why she's appearing just as a silhouette.
Yeah, can you, because usually you can see when I've put my camera on, I can see me in the boxes, and it's like I'm not part of the panelists, even though you promoted me to a panelist. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
It's not you. We can,
No?
it's your picture for some reason. It's
All right,
you're
let me
just as,
share my screen.
do you have your the light on in your room, in your office?
I think it's just the window is behind me,
Yeah, and it's
and that's
picking
the
up that
sunlight
light.
from the window is doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you able to see the website, the town's website?
Yes.
Okay, so I actually uploaded this and updated the page yesterday to be able to review this today. So the concept was just to kind of to get this guide out there and easily accessible. So on the main page under businesses, it's the very first tab that you can go into, doing business in Easton. We have right on this page a little blurb about the guide, that it was a collaboration between all the departments that frequently issue the permits and licenses. And then here's the link to the guide. And it isn't interactive. There's live links to fee schedules, to websites, the permitting system. So as you're going through the guide, I'll show you that everything is kind of linked out and kind of you can toggle back and forth between departments and permits and etc. So the guide itself is in a PDF format, and you come down into the table of contents, and like I was saying, that the links are interactive, so you just click on the link, it's going to bring you to the section that you potentially are just looking at the table of contents and go, you know what, I need more information about zoning or a special permit. But the guide itself was, the conversations that I had with Stephanie were more for, if I'm a small business and I'm opening a restaurant, like that's my lens. I want to be able to look at a document and say, okay, like how does this pertain to me? What are all the different departments? So the guide is set up kind of both ways, is you can narrow down to the end of the table of contents and say, okay, I'm opening a small business, a retail store, a restaurant, and you can click right to that, and it kind of gets you going and what departments and potential permits you may need for that specific type of business. As this is kind of wrapping up. The other part of it was I proposed to Stephanie was having like checklists, is having like supplements, almost like it within the guide is that you are a business, frequently opened businesses in the town. They'll have kind of like a little checklist, a little worksheet that they can go through if they don't want to dive deeper into the guide or just to kind of use with the guide. But stepping back up to the very beginning of it, it gives an overview of the intention of the guide and what it's there for. It's not this truly comprehensive, foolproof manual of how to, open your business and open your business in the town. But it is a good guide and structure for somebody that kind of just doesn't know where to begin. So kind of going through the different pages, this is just your kind of initial checklist of, can I even open a business in the location that I want to open in? Is it zoned for, is there wetlands, historical district, what's the septic and sewer? So that's kind of like, okay, now this is a good location and the feasibility of this location looks good for my business. Then it gets into like, okay, what are the permits that I need? And that's listed out here. And then again, this is a listing of all possible permitting and licenses and the boards or the departments that oversee it. Same thing, interactive links. Like if I want, more information about the select board, I can click on the link. It brings me to the select board's website. Going down, just all contact key departments in the contact location, phone numbers, emails, hours and operations. A little overview of what business certificates are, why do I need them? Again, links out to, the state website for more information on business certificates, building permits, sign permits, site plan review. Sorry if I'm going too fast. You can tell me to slow down. I'm just kind of doing like an overview. I don't want to get too much into the details of each page. Food and beverage licenses, zoning, variances, special permits, the conservation permits and approvals, historical commission approvals, which include demolition and special events. And then this page is just frequently asked questions. So there's a couple of pages that are just simple Q&As. And this page is, again, live links. So this is the fee schedule for the various, boards and departments. The links are live. They correlate to the documents on demand. So as the fees potentially could change or be updated, the departments are responsible to update that on documents and demands. And these links will, as soon as they update the document, the link is live. So it's not something I would have to maintain to make sure the fee schedules are always up to date, because it doesn't link to the website.
So I'm just going to stop just there for a quick
sure.
For those, I'm pretty sure Craig is very familiar with documents on demand, but that is kind of the online storage system for all the documents that are generated by the various boards in town, and those documents that are used to communicate, whether it's agendas, it's minutes, information about applications, as Melissa just pointed out, fee schedules, that type of thing. So documents on demand is incorporated into the town webs as well.
Yes. Moving on to the permitting system. So again, an overview of Permitize. It links out to each of the modules that you potentially need to use. It explains that you need to establish a login, and that each login is for each application. So kind of understanding that and the clarification. I feel like that's what even in our office, people apply in building or planning, and that they don't necessarily talk to each other. Each application is its own application and login for the permitting system. So that kind of explains that, where I think people may make the assumption that it's one system that kind of talks between the departments, and so this kind of clarifies that.
And so I'll just add on to that. So again, what we have, and Bruce, you may be somewhat familiar with the system because Stonehill has initiated a lot of projects over the years that we've implemented this online permitting system. But for the other members, and I know Craig's very familiar with it, it is an online permitting system. It's now a single portal entry that you have as a user, an applicant, or even if you're a member of the public, you can go in and view. You don't need a user ID if you're a member of the public, because you're just going to be viewing information. But if you're submitting an application, you log into a central portal, and then you're presented with these different modules. Oh, thank you, Melissa, that's great. And then from there, you would be presented with a screen and you can submit your application. If you're a member of the public, you can view an application. You can see what information has been provided. So this really facilitates the application process. And as part of the application process, when staff is reviewing it, while they don't necessarily, the modules talk to each other, there is a method of soliciting input from other departments or agencies on that application. And again, this is a way to facilitate communication internally and make sure that if you're submitting a building permit and it requires a wetlands permit as well, the conservation agent will respond to that application and communicate that fact. And that information goes back to the applicant. So again, it's intended to facilitate the whole permitting process.
That's really
That's
impressive,
my
Melissa.
spiel.
That's really impressive, Melissa. I had to say, I'm going to have to go on live and take a look at it too.
So, you know, I don't want to take credit. So this was definitely a template that was something that was already there. And I think the name doesn't, I can't think of the name. Stephanie probably has it. It was the former town administrator, I believe, was the author of the original document. So he definitely did the legwork of getting this all into.
Yeah, it actually was the current town administrator.
Was that what it was?
Who was in a different role at the time.
Okay.
I still think you can take some credit for that, Melissa.
Yeah, I think so too.
And also, like, so it was in this kind of draft form, and it got pushed out to every department for their feedback. And, you know, is this relevant? Does this make sense? And so everybody had their kind of weigh in on this document as well. So at least it was vetted through each department, and they felt comfortable with the, you know, the structure of it. So that's it.
Yeah, I just want to say as well, very impressive looking through that.
Yeah.
It seems so comprehensive.
And I will like highlight, I think I said this to Stephanie, is that the initial, when she asked me to research other towns, what they have for, you know, doing business in their town, like what do they have on their websites? What do they have guides? I mean, the surrounding communities really have nothing. It's like, please contact the planning department, you know, if you have questions on starting a business, or please contact, you know, like the town administrator if you want to open a business for more instructions. There's really the website itself. I think Easton's website is very comprehensive. It has a lot of information on it, but there was no town that had anything close to this, with the exception of the city of Brockton. You know, being a city, they definitely had more resources dedicated to opening a business on their website, but that was pretty much it. There was nothing in the local towns that had anything close to this.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I live in the city of Brockton. I'm familiar with Brockton's Guide. Ours was created completely in-house, and I know that Brockton paid to have theirs done and brought in a consultant. So again, I think I echo Melissa. You get a lot of credit for bringing this to life.
Very impressive.
Yeah, I think it's significant, Melissa, that once again, Easton is in the forefront of making it easier for people to do business in town, or when we look at things like our water, the health of our water is well ahead of everybody else's, because we have a pretty creative leadership in this town. So thank you for doing this, Melissa.
I'm gonna stop sharing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, the next item on the agenda is the Winter Business Forum discussion. I have not had a chance to reach back out to Isabel Wilson to get this rescheduled. And if there's a general theme that we want to discuss at the forum, last fall we were going to basically do a similar discussion like we've done in the past, where we'd have meet the town, have some of the town administration there to talk about new developments and what's happening in town right now. And then have a Q&A. Also, we're going to introduce the Doing Business Guide. But one of the things that we're working on now, and we talked about this at the last meeting, and it's on for discussion here, is, I jumped over it actually. I went from the Doing Business, is the master plan update. So we talked about this at the last meeting, and this might be something that's worthwhile doing as part of the business forum, is just helping to let the community know at large that we're doing an update to the Envision Easton Master Plan, which was adopted by the town in 2014. It's been 10 years since that adoption, and it's a document that is referred to frequently as town management and boards are considering policies and where to invest the town's resources. It's still very current, but there also have been some emerging trends that the plan did not contemplate that we'd like to focus on. So what's happened to date is a committee has been formed with representatives from various relevant boards. And this, of course, the Economic Development Council has a representative. That was Chris Lopes, was voted to be the representative for the Economic Development Council. We have had 2 meetings. The first meeting was to do introductions, get everybody to know each other, and to review responses to an RFP that we issued seeking the services of a qualified consultant to help us with this project and move it forward. The second meeting, so that review was done, and the committee determined who they thought were the best qualified candidates, and we brought them in for interviews 2 weeks ago. And narrowed it down to another candidate, and we'll be following up. I've checked the references, and we'll be making a recommendation to the committee, and they'll be voting next Wednesday for that contract. And then what you can look forward to seeing, once we meet with the consultants, we establish the project timeline and talk about public outreach and the activities that are going to take place over the next 6 to 8 months. We'll start sharing that information and communicating that. One of the big roles of the various boards and the committee members is really helping to get the word out that we're working on the update and build interest from the residents and businesses in town to make sure that you're all participating in this project and providing feedback and input, so that it's a really good reflection of what the town is thinking. And then the final outcome will be an action plan. Any questions or comments on that? Okay. So then the last item, and we talked about this a little bit at the last meeting, and Mark and I had talked about this, is a discussion on the council charge and role of council members. So this is kind of like, it's a committee input session to kind of talk about what you folks felt, what was your reason? What did you feel you'd get out of participating in the Economic Development Council? What are your expectations as a council member? Ideas on how the council should operate and align with the tasks that are set out in the council, in the council's charge. One of the key things that I think the council was established to do was really engage the business community, and how can the council do that and help facilitate that? So kind of an open forum. Thoughts, ideas.
For me, it's been an opportunity to meet folks like John and Bruce that I wouldn't ordinarily have been able to meet, and to hear their ideas and share my ideas about the development of Easton and what the priorities are. I think we do a pretty darn good job. You go back to Easton is Open. I think that was something that we were intimately involved, particularly Mark was intimately involved in that, and going through that pandemic, which was quite extraordinary. The fact that we've been able to build our sewer capacity and to reduce our PFAS exposure, our ability to develop that new school, which is extraordinary. If anybody hasn't had an opportunity to see it inside, it's extraordinary. And the new police, fire, and DPW municipal facilities, both on Depot Street and as well as up at the corner of Washington and Main. Those are all things that this committee has been intimately involved in, and I think we should continue to do that.
I think for myself, several years ago when I became part of the committee, well, the president the president of Stonehill asked me to be the Stonehill representative. So I really had no idea what I was getting into at first, but I've really grown to enjoy everyone on this committee and meeting new people and being able to contribute what we can as far as Stonehill goes. We're certainly a big part of the community, and we always will be. I guess the sad part for me is I've probably only got a couple of years left on the committee before I meander away from Stonehill. So, and I'm a Rhode Island resident, so I'm kind of far away.
So is that a hint that you're going to retire sometime in the not too distant future?
Yeah, a couple of years. Yep. So I think there's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of people retiring around the same times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I assume, Bruce, that you will make sure that you speak so highly of this committee that somebody else in a couple of years will definitely want to be a part of it.
Already working on it.
Excellent. Excellent.
I was going to ask that, is the succession planning in place?
Yep. Yeah, I got a couple people that I think would want to volunteer.
Good.
Yeah.
Great. That's good to hear. John or Mark, you have anything to add?
Sure, I can jump in next. I think that, being involved in local government things is certainly out of my comfort zone, and I really haven't, other than this, been involved in anything like that. So I was very much interested in getting out, understanding how the committee would work. I think, although I live in Bridgewater, I grew up in Easton. I still consider myself to be from Easton, and I own property and run the business here in Easton. I'm here every day, and it really feels like where I belong, I guess, and I really wanted to be part of moving Easton forward. So it's been great to be, to meet everybody, see the happenings, and work through everything, and I guess represent at least the business side of things.
I mean, it's been great having you on the board and also being invited to the manufacturing day events that you hold and the tours through the operation. The day you did it was kind of an open house for the new equipment and
Yes.
grant
Yeah.
award that you received.
Right.
So yeah, I think everyone
Yeah, it's great. It
appreciates.
feels good to be connected for sure.
Yeah. I love pointing out that there is manufacturing in Easton. There's manufacturers at the industrial park where you'd expect it to be, but then right there it's Elm Street, right? You're on
Yes.
Elm Street, and you'd never know there was a manufacturer there, and it's such a clean operation and asset to the community.
Thank you.
Mark?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I joined the committee really because I wanted to, understand what's going on from a planning perspective, right? Business, how business is done and what the plans are. And, I've been very impressed by the committee and the thought process that's put behind everything, and, in the town itself. So, I come at, my background's more in corporate and corporate finance, than, anything local here. But I guess I bring more of the general citizen, kind of view to this of, what's going on in town. What are we doing to, enhance business, to enhance our tax base and make life better, for the residents. So.
And I don't want to leave Stonehill out. I think Bruce, over the years, the relationship between the town, what I've seen is more outreach and interaction between the two entities. And when you talk about doing business in Easton, Stonehill has done a lot. That campus has expanded a lot over the 17 plus years that I've worked for the town. And it was always a pleasure doing business with you folks because you really had a good sense of what was needed, what the permitting process was. You reached out, you involved us right from the early stages so we could help make the projects go as smooth as possible.
I appreciate that, and you're right. Since I got there in 2008, and since then, we've increased the square footage by close to 40% of building square footage. So we've had an aggressive several years putting up buildings and additions and remodeling.
Yeah, I think I started working for the town at the end of, had just done like a major wayfinding, the pathways and everything. That project was just wrapping up. And I think the first big project I worked on was the science building. I think that was so. All right.
I just wanted to comment with something Mark said about the town and increasing business and commercial. It's important then to come to town meeting on Monday night because there's a zoning article that will allow us to increase our commercial base at the Center Street property. So that's worth coming on the 18th, Mark, to the high school at 7 p.m.
Yes.
Okay. I'll wrap up quick. If there's nothing else, anyone, I'll wrap up the meeting quickly, just by doing a quick development update. So everyone's very familiar, the zoning that was adopted three years ago, I think now, for the Foundry Village District area, which is the 1 mile stretch between Eastman Street and Depot Street. We have had a lot of applications and projects permitted over the past couple of years and even in the last year. So most recently, the planning board approved And the Zoning Board of Appeals approved a permit for a Taco Bell at the southeast corner of Bay Road and Foundry Street. We have an application that was just submitted for a Chipotle's over at a vacant pad at the Shaw's Plaza. We have a mixed-use project that was permitted last year that is starting construction that will have retail on the first floor. There'll be 2 retail spaces and 10 units of housing above. And we have a multifamily project that was approved for 22 units of housing. That zoning also encouraged infill development. It allowed you to convert an existing single-family home to a 1 or multifamily, a 2 or multifamily home if you preserved the building itself, the original building, the exterior, so it would remain looking like it did if that building had a historic significance to the district. And we have we have 1 project that's taking advantage of that, and we'll end up with 4 units of housing and a preserved building with the original wood structure and architectural elements. And we have also that allowed smaller lots. So we've had a couple of folks who had lots that they could divide and take advantage of that. So we've seen a lot of new permitting going on in that Foundry Village District area. And of course, I think everyone's probably seen the new Volkswagen dealership that has been going up at the intersection of Depot Street and Washington Street. So those are
How many houses has Rick Lincoln built so far?
So Rick has under construction, there are about 3 or 4. That's been a little slower than he would like because he just got National Grid to bring electric to the development itself. That being said, 20 South Street, which is just up the road on South Street, which is a 20-lot subdivision. It was a flexible development that allowed construction on smaller lots, but you had to preserve a certain amount of open space. That's being done by Bill Humphrey. And he is coming before the planning board for the last 3 houses within that subdivision, which he expects to be completed. So all those 3 houses will be completed. That will complete the development of the housing in that development by winter, and then he'll finish the road in the spring, which is, that project has moved forward incredibly fast. It's barely been 2 years under construction. But Rick's project, which is at the Foundry site at the intersection of Pequannock Avenue and Foundry Street, we expect now that he has electric in there, that to continue to move along.
And what has he got, about 6 houses that he's actually built already?
I know of 3 because you can see them from the road.
I think there's 2 in the far left in the back as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pleased to see Bill Humphrey's project go that quickly. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Pleased.
Yeah, but it also highlights one of the biggest challenges in Easton. I mean, I think when he first came to the town, he thought those would be selling for between $500,000 and $600,000, and they're all selling just under or over $1 million. And
if you haven't gone up South Street to Old Forge, you could take a run through there. You'll see the houses, and they're connected to the sewer, as is Rick Lincoln's project too. So that's positive for the betterments for folks who live in the area.
Yep. All right. That's what we have.
Thank you,
Good.
Stephanie.
Good.
Welcome.
Okay. I'll make a motion to end the
Go
meeting.
ahead. I'll second that, Bruce.
All in
right.
favor, Danielson, aye?
Boyer,
Roger, aye.
Holbrook, aye.
Sterling, aye.
All right, thank you very much, everybody.
have a great
Yeah.
holiday.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank
Good holiday,
you.
everyone.
Take care now.
You
Bye.
too.